trapped in the barn fire, couldn't get out. I was like, oh, it's just another dead animal we got to bury. Well, they picked it up, and the mother hen had protected all the baby chicks underneath it. The mother hen protected all those chicks underneath its wings. They moved the mother hen. The little chicks were still alive. God is a sacrificing God. He sent his son to be sacrificed and die for us to protect his baby chicks. So we are underneath those wings, the shadow of his wings. It talks about him as like an umbrella almost. Psalms 91. He's our protection. He's our covering. And God, we have so many descriptive terms to talk about God and try to describe his attributes, but you know what? It's not something we can fully list or comprehend. And the more you pick it apart and pull it apart, it's just going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. I've got to go fast here. He also used anthropomorphisms, or talking about himself in the manner of man. God does not literally have arms or legs or a head, talking about God the Father, but we have the attributes. The Bible talks about how Jesus is the physical revelation of who God is. He expresses himself that way. God talking to Moses on the mountain, he says, I can't show you my face, but I'm going to walk by. I'll let you see my hind parts, Well, Moses didn't look at God's backside, but he saw the leaving glory of God. He says if he had seen the real form of Moses would have dropped dead on the spot, basically. Seeing natural man beholding God the Father, he drops dead on the spot. And then later he talks about how he's walking into the tent of Abraham right before he goes to judges Sodom and Gomorrah, and he's got angels with him, servants there. He washes his feet. Abraham washes his feet, and then serves him food, and he eats, and he says, what can I do for you, my Lord? Abraham recognized Jesus when he walks in the tent. Well, Jesus was there in the physicality, in flesh. But then later on, we also hear the children of Israel in Exodus talks about God's a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. His attributes are kind of unknowable, but he expresses himself to us as best he can. He compares himself many times as with animals, wings of a hen, wings of an eagle, roar of a lion, but he's not an animal, nor a man. God also uses anthropophagy, which describes himself in terms of human emotion. God describes himself as love or grief, even anger. Or in the Old Testament, it talks about jealousy. I created you. Why are you worshiping a golden cow? I'm a jealous God. Don't have any other false gods before me. Is that too much to ask? I'm the one that made you. Come on, guys. And he's talking to the nation who knew him. But emotions of God are far greater than ours. Biblical descriptions are valid, but philosophic definitions always leave something to be desired. God is that which nothing can be greater, can ever be conceived. Understand, he is larger and bigger than ourselves. Like we said, his thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. They should be, and we're trying to obtain that understanding. Which is why God can look at filthy, dirty, lost mankind, dead in sin, and say, I'm going to speak life into you. He found us like we were, lost, dead, and dying, and he says, there's my child, I found you. Picks us up, scoops us up off the ground, washes us, cleanses us, puts us on the robe of righteousness when we accept what Jesus did for us, and he doesn't leave us in the muck and the mire, which is why he kind of gets upset when we go back to the muck and the mire. You ever seen like those rag to riches movies, like Brewster's Millions or something? They take somebody who's homeless and destitute, and all of a sudden he says, you got 2 months to spend $1 billion, some of those kind of silly stories. Usually by the end of the story or by the middle of the story, they end up going back to their old ways of living. But realizing that at one point they had such a far higher standard available to them. And that's what Christianity does many times. When they miss what God's trying to do for them, they return back to their vomit, like we used that example earlier in the last class. But that's not the will of God. He says, you are here. I see you here. I made you to be here. Why are you living down here? And far below the standards. My love for you is greater. Hear what I'm talking about with you. So see what I see in you. And the more we obtain what God sees us and calls us and calls us to, our life is going to get better as a result.